Nigel Farage insisted today that he and UKIP are not racist. He's so keen to ram that point home, he's even spelt it out in a full-page advertisement in a newspaper. The accusations of racism followed his remarks that people would be concerned if a Romanian family moved in next door. But not Germans. Mr. Farage said he was making a particular point about Romanian criminal gangs, not a general attack on Romanian people. Our political editor Gary Gibbon caught up with Mr. Farage to talk to him about it.
David Cameron, along with Ed Miliband and Nick Clegg, found himself having to respond to what the fourth party leader has been saying. Nigel Farage's suggestion in a Friday interview that people would be understandably uncomfortable to have Romanians moving in next door.
I was asked, if a group of Romanian men moved in next door to you, would you be concerned?
What about if a group of German children did? What's the difference?
The difference, and you know what the difference is.
No, I honestly don't.
That was followed this morning by a full-page ad in the Daily Telegraph in which the UKIP leader proclaimed his party was not racist. The other three party leaders were asked if they thought Mr Farage or his party were racist. All three shied away from the R word, but condemned Nigel Farage's language.
Well, I think it was a pretty unpleasant thing to say, and he's himself recognised that. But frankly, it's just the last in a whole chain of things that UKIP candidates and financial backers have said over these elections, that, you know, it's all right to rape your wife or black people should go back to Africa. I think people have had enough of all this.
Despite all that sort of, cheery bonhomie from Nigel Farage, the mask is slipping. To say that you should single out one community or one nationality and say you don't want to live next door to them is just the politics of division.
Well, he's definitely right to apologise because those were offensive comments. They were a racial slur. I don't think he should have said them, and he's certainly right to say he's sorry.
Strategists for the main parties say they don't want to up the rhetoric any further and risk giving Nigel Farage what they call martyr status. I caught up with the UKIP leader as he campaigned by Manston Airport in Kent. He'd said on Sunday he'd made a mistake with his language. What did he think he'd got wrong?
I was asked a question, would people be concerned? And I think the answer is a lot of people would be concerned because they know there is the trafficking problem, they know there is the crime problem. But I in no way want to give the impression, as I might have done at the end of last week, that a whole group of people should be labelled as being bad. I don't. And, of course, the vast majority of Romanian people who come to this country are good people who are working hard.
But some people are already saying the mask has slipped. What you actually did there was maybe a bit tired, end of a long day. You let slip what you really think, which is that...
what I did was I didn't answer the question. I said, look, you know what I mean. I was, in a way, what I was trying
But my
to
question
do.
is, did the mask slip?
No, the answer is, I didn't do what I normally do, which is if I'm asked a question, to answer it honestly. I really didn't want to have a debate on this issue, but I've now been forced into it. And when you look at it, when you discuss it, you realise, actually, open-door immigration to some southern and eastern European countries, frankly, doesn't make sense. And we should. I've spoken to the police, I've spoken to the border agency staff at Dover, and they are just tearing their hair out because they haven't got the ability to stop known criminals from coming into the country. And that, I think, is a power that we need to have.
The danger in what you said, wasn't it, is that it has echoes of things that were said in the 60s, the 70s, about having, whether it was Irish living next door or black people living next door. That's the potent...
Well, and that's why I said yesterday, if by not dealing with this issue head on, I've given that impression, I'm sorry.
But other politicians don't fall into that trap. What some people might argue is that you're playing rather close to the wire on this, and that's how you've fallen into.
Other politicians don't discuss.
You're pushing the envelope a bit, like.
Other politicians won't discuss this issue. They want to brush it under the carpet, and they don't want to debate about it. And I do want to have a debate about it, but I want it to be on the right terms. And I repeat, I in no way want to give the impression that Romanians are being singled out here. They're not. It's just that their country.
No other politician has to go around apologising for singling out races, and you do. Doesn't it say something?
Well, it's never happened. Well, it's never happened before.
Doesn't it say something about your politics that you've got yourself into this position?
No, I don't think it does. I didn't want to have this argument. I didn't want to have this debate. All through this European election campaign, we have talked in general terms and broad terms about open-door migration, about numbers. We haven't even touched, frankly, on the crime issue. But sometimes, when you do a lot of interviews, you don't always get it right. And hands up, I didn't get it quite right. So we've now finished up having a debate about this, but in no way, do I detract from the idea that we need to have a proper control policy with countries like Romania?
In terms of the ad itself and what you put in the paper today, 92% of ATM crime in London is committed by Romanians. The Met tell me there is no such thing. The Met police say there's no such thing as ATM crime. It's not a statistic that is formally kept.
Well, we got that from a senior Metropolitan Police officer, and if you look at the advert, every single statistic I quote is sourced.
And the second statistic, 28,000 Romanians arrested in the last 5 years. Arrests, this is, not charges.
Well,
we don't know what for. We don't know whether charges happened. I mean, aren't you in danger of
that's the second
feeding the scare even more?
Well, that's the second part of the problem. The first part of the problem is we can't stop criminals, known criminals, at our borders from coming in. The second part of the problem, and it's not just EU rules, it's also the Human Rights Act, is we actually have a big problem now in deporting people who've committed crimes.
Well, you can't say 7% of all crime across the 28 EU member states was caused by Romanian gangs, because Europol doesn't say that. Europol says 7% of all gangs are Romanian, which is a very different thing.
No, 7% of crime.
No, that's not what they say.
Well, maybe they're getting nervous and backtracking, but I can assure you we've checked and sourced all of our figures, the 92%, the 28,000, the 7%. These are very powerful figures. All they are there for is an illustration that we should not have open door migration, and we must have control of our borders and stop criminal gangs who are trafficking and using and abusing people. Now, this is happening in our country, and we shouldn't allow it to happen.